Okay, so we're in the middle of a conversation. This is Unplugged, AACC, and the whole point of this podcast is that we just kind of get to share, not like ministry, like capital M church program stuff, but we just kind of share lowercase m ministry stuff. But sometimes we have conversations like the one we were in the middle of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Jyles.
Can I set the scene?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
We're
Context.
getting ready to start this podcast, and we got the lights. Some we got to turn off, some we got to turn on. And a lot of times I think there's a slow fade into it.
Why do you think that?
I have no idea.
Like, do you think that we have like
Lights
a
on,
professional
lights off.
union card carrying
Maybe
lighting?
slow fade isn't the right term, but
He has an
I
amygdala
wasn't-
bruise.
for sure. I was.
Do you know what the amygdala is?
I don't know.
It's an almond-shaped part of the brain. Anyway.
I know medulla
Fight or flight.
oblongata, Mr. Boucher, if I'm saying that right.
Cerebellum.
But in terms of the intensity, I was expecting like a flick, not a punch, if that makes sense. And so I'm looking down at these lights that are turned
He's
off.
staring like wide-eyed at the
We're-
lights like a deer.
We're about to get started and ask, should we turn on these lights back here? And I'm looking down, looking for the little switch, find it, and then it found me pretty quick. I turn it on and I'm just blinded by it. And so I have like 16 little dots that I'm seeing, and I don't know the technical term for them, but I know they don't last forever. And so it's not a scar, but something that is, you know, that shows up, that's an effect that doesn't last forever, is a bruise. Am I off here? And so I've called those for years now retina bruises. I
And
imagine
it
my retina's
obviously is
getting a
not
little
caught
bruise.
on because nobody at this table has ever heard of it.
And he said, what do you call him? We're
Yeah.
like, seeing spots. See-
Well, if they're always there, they're called floaters, right?
I'm not.
No, I think that's a thing.
Listen,
No,
They're
everybody's
Jyles,
always there, like little black spots, little retina bruises that are always there.
Retina bruises.
no, those are retina scars.
That's what I would
They've
think.
left a mark now.
But
Hey,
you might need to get
listen,
that checked out if they're always there.
I get it's clever. It really is. But the best part was like, hey, no. Like, if this catches on, it'll save me so many words to say retina bruises than to say spots.
So
Seeing spots. 2 words. Syllable counts 3.
I don't know. If you could just say.
Retina bruises. That's 4 syllables.
No,
2
I
words.
think you say.
And I think it's actually retina.
Retina.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Retina.
It could be 3. I mean,
Yeah.
Let's ask Dr. Kamali.
But you're not considering how much smarter I sound when I say retina bruises versus seeing spots.
Hey, no,
I think that
no one is.
You're right.
But you get the opportunity
Never
to
been a
talk
thought.
more.
nobody walked away from the conversation about spots and said, "Yeah, I think retina bruises is brilliant."
People are going to come up later and go, no, talk to that guy. He says things funny. And so that I get more words, more chances to win.
Oh,
Oh, my God.
okay. So I don't even know what we're supposed to talk about.
we're
But
just
like,
talking about grief.
I'm
Good grief.
Good
Okay.
grief, Charlie Brown.
Okay. I feel like retina bruises are more encapsulating of that than seeing spots. I think when you say seeing spots out of context, you need some more context to it. Versus just retina bruises, I feel like that kind of nails it.
Okay, so make the transition then from retina bruises to grief.
You ready for this?
Yeah, we're ready.
We go to commercial break and then we come back and then just talk about something completely different. We need a TV timeout.
What's the commercial
Wait,
about?
I was gonna
I've
say,
got a
wait.
transition.
somebody wants to like be an ad in our. I don't know who would be.
We've thrown this out several episodes.
We have.
Like, I mean,
Chick-fil-A, please,
Coffee mugs.
please, Chick-fil-A,
Dan, Kathy, if you're listening.
or
That's not
Taco
bad, right?
Casa. I love Taco Casa.
Okay, so you're willing to do it for coupons,
Yeah,
like
a
titles,
burrito.
But we never
named
sponsor their things.
sponsorship.
We never show off their products.
Taco Casa has the best
So
burrito.
you're going to get burritos before the next
Yeah.
podcast.
I don't think our viewers want while we're doing
Hey,
a podcast.
man, if I'm listening to a podcast and somebody's talking about eating a Taco Casa burrito and I can hear them, I'm like, I'm getting in the car. I'm going there. Even if I have to stare at the sun and get retina bruises on the way,
Yeah.
I'm going for my burrito.
You're going to smell it through the radio.
I am.
And the transition is?
Yeah.
Well, during grief, it feels like it's the only thing that you can see. It's always present. You still see other things, but it's always there. But the intensity is limited in the same way that, like, I bet your vision is relatively back to normal.
Yeah.
So there's my transition.
I don't know if blinking faster makes it go away faster, but you can see it for that split second when you blink.
Yeah.
I don't know what reach that would have in your analogy. But
Well, now we're stretching the metaphor.
I mean, you see it, you notice it more with your eyes closed, right?
Yeah,
When you're not trying to
there you
look
go.
beyond, like
Yeah.
that's all you can see.
Yeah, that's good.
Is-
So this is related to what we just did, but just kind of a funny story. So I preached in Hobbs a couple of weeks ago, and my daughter goes, "Dad, that lesson was fine, but the transitions were really clunky." And I'm like, "You're such a church brat. You have grown up in a minister's family. It is obvious."
Do you have slides?
No.
Okay. So you're for sure that she was talking about transitions from one point to the next
Oh,
and
yeah.
not between your slides.
most
Oh,
definitely.
certain.
No,
Oh,
it
certain.
was the wording.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, so
Did you ask how she would have
Transitions.
done it? How should I have done it?
no, I was done at that point. I was like, yeah, I don't want to hear that.
Thanks for the feedback.
Okay, so we've transitioned to grief then.
Well, I've heard recently, I like math. I like math terms. That is it grief shared. It's kind of a famous one. Y'all might know it. Grief shared with someone is cut in half. So if I'm bearing the grief of something and I share it with people, now I don't feel as much grief now that that burden has been shared. But praise or something that you're joyous about that you're sharing is multiplied. I have a lot of joy and I share it with y'all. I don't have less of it now. Now we all have more because of something great that's happened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is that been y'all's experience with
Romans
those
says,
things?
rejoice with those who rejoice. So multiplying.
Yeah.
them. Galatians says to bear one another's burdens. So
Yeah.
it's pretty solid.
So dividing. Yeah.
And there's a time for everything, right? Like, I don't think we're saying we should only be multipliers, right? We should be willing to cut someone's grief in half,
Yeah.
cut someone's burdens in half for them.
It's just hard because people don't like to talk about. People don't like to burden others. Because if you think about it that way, if you think, well, I'm going to deal with this on my own, I'm going to take care of it on my own, but that dividing thing, like they don't need to worry about that. I don't want to put that on them to have to think about or worry about for me. But Christ calls us to carry one another's burdens.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's as hard to share your joys as compared to your burdens, but I think some people do have a hard time also sharing their joys with people too.
yeah,
Perhaps for looking like they're
I don't want to seem prideful or
prideful,
arrogant.
boastful about whatever's going
Yeah,
on.
that's true. What do you think, Doug?
I have lots of thoughts. I don't know if any of them are good or worth being heard over the air while you're thinking about your taco casa burrito. One thing I think is interesting, and I'm not trying to bag on this lady because she's amazing and what she did was really phenomenal. She came up with the 5 stages of grief. Her name is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It was back a long time ago, certainly before Jyles was born. I don't know if it was before me or not, but she came up with the stages of grief. I think almost everybody's familiar with it. It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I love it. I think that's that is important. However, I think some people have taken that and assumed that rather than they treat it as like a walkway, like you're going to start in denial, and then once you finish through that, you'll transition into anger and then to bargaining. Okay, right. And so I think where the problem is in that people assume that they are going to go from one to the next to the next. That grief is not something that you're like stage 1 complete. Now let's go on to stage 2. And I think that's one that's so detrimental to a lot of people as they experience grief as it happens. You might be in denial one day. You're just going to be all over the place.
They are concurrent and not
Yes.
a consecutive
Yes.
sequence.
But a lot
Yes.
of not maybe well-knowing, I don't know what the word.
Well-meaning?
Well-meaning people will hand somebody a book And then they think, okay, this is a checklist. Like,
Sure.
I'm reading this book. Okay, I'm in chapter 1. I need to be feeling chapter 1, chapter 2, and if that's the stages. And
There's a band that actually based a album on those 5 stages, and the interstitials are actually titled those things. And it's pretty fascinating.
It took them 5 albums.
No,
Okay.
one album.
One album. They
Yeah,
went through.
yeah.
That's cool.
So that was one of the Backstreet Boys' best albums. So how I would like to describe it, and this is, I mean, this could be way off, but for me, I would imagine like I actually used this as an illustration one time. I got some carpet tiles, and just started out with like a carpet tile, and like when grief happens, you're on that tile, and that tile is the tile of grief. The tile of just you're always weeping, you're emotional, you're overwhelmed, you can't imagine life, moving on. And then after a period of time, another carpet tile is introduced, and that's the carpet tile in which, like, it's not like you can imagine that you can live after the grief. And then you step on that tile, but then you get right back on the one, and then you start adding more tiles. And so my point is that that grief never goes away, but you can come to a point in your life where you can add more tiles back in, to where you can start to experience a different kind of normal, even while you find yourself going back to that grief. And I think you can find yourself in that deep grief for a really long time, but sometimes you might go a couple days without dealing with it, and then sometimes you just like sit down on it. I don't know. That's just how I see it.
that's a good visual.
We played a lot of The Floor is Lava growing up.
Yeah.
You're looking at the 2009 reigning Wootton living room champion right now.
That's
And we would, do it with pillows or whatever we had around the house. And you would jump from one to the next.
yes.
Right? You wouldn't straddle it. You wouldn't have two right beside each other. That's not challenging at all. You were only on the one that you were on.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's not like that at all. You don't jump from denial, and then what's the second one?
Anger.
Okay,
Anger, bargaining.
You don't
depression.
jump from that one to anger, and now you're just in anger and not in denial anymore.
Yeah, I'm just saying you could have your foot on both. I'm just saying, and then you'll go back to it, and then I just think like there's always this movement. But I mean, honestly, for the first, I don't want to say a timeline, but for the majority of as you're first going through it, you're just stuck on that one tile, and you can't even imagine. You can't imagine laughing again. You can't imagine there being joy. Yeah. You are frustrated that there are other people around you that laugh and have joy, and you're baffled that when you go to the grocery store and you can't even imagine having to buy food and eating, there are people around you just like living their life. Yeah. And so it's just so overwhelming, but I just think it's very fluid. Yeah. And I'm sure Dr. Kubler-Ross would say, "Oh yeah, but we've taken those stages, and I think we've
the
turned
pop
them into,
culture version of those.
Yes,
yeah.
we've turned them 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 5, we're done, and you're like, oh no, tomorrow you may be back at denial.
Mm-hmm. Jerry Leslie probably could correct a lot of our lack of clinical understanding, but I think that was written around like end of life stage patients. Yeah. Right. And we apply it to every other situation in life. And so, the pop culture version of that can not be as helpful as actually living through it and getting help from somebody.
So although it's not beneficial to use it as a roadmap or as a timeline, do you think it's a net positive that we all have that language now?
I think so, because what it does is it helps us see that grief can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. Yeah. And everybody grieves differently. The example I always like to give is, Job, his whole family, dies just about. All his kids die. He loses almost everything. And like he's in the ash heap and he's mourning fully. And his wife, like I always imagine, she like opens up the screen door and yells at him, "Curse God and die," and then slams the screen door shut. And I think we're very harsh with her and like, how dare she act like that? And you're like, wait, time out. Like she she lost her kids too.
Yeah.
And so everybody grieves differently. And
Yeah.
so there are some unhealthy ways to grieve, but
She lost her kids. Her husband was covered in sores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was mourning.
Yes.
Yeah. All their livelihood was gone.
yeah. And so I think we should just recognize that everybody grieves a little differently.
Yeah. And all the disciples grieved differently. Everybody at the cross was grieving differently.
Yeah.
And then that symbol, kind of like that carpet square, is the cross that we look back to. How does that make, maybe we go through different times in our life where looking at the symbol of the cross makes us feel different things. If we're, well, of course, probably not denialably, but I mean, sometimes it can bring us comfort. And sometimes, if you're really examining yourself, you can feel a lot of guilt and shame when you think about the sacrifice that was given. And so you can go through different things when we look at the cross.
Yeah. What I like about what I see in the Bible about working through grief is kind of two things. How many times the body physically is used to work through grief and through emotional pain. It's just how many times the tearing of garments and sackcloth and ash. I think about David fasting when his infant is sick. And then once the infant dies, he's like, okay, I'm going to get up and eat and shower and feel better. And he says some of the most poignant words. He can't come to me, talking about his deceased infant child, but I can go be with him. And how he uses his body to work through that, and how they had rituals in their cultures of grief. And we used to have them in the West, and we no longer do. Like a period of mourning in which people would wear black, and just how we've kind of like lost all that ritual
They would even
around
hire
grief.
people to cry. They would hire the
Yeah.
wailers.
Yeah.
Or sit Shiva or whatever.
But even
So.
since COVID, even the time period from when somebody passes until the funeral is held. I mean, before, just because of the biology of the body and the decay of the body, like you had to have the funeral within 3, 4, 5 days. Well, now it's sometimes 6 weeks. And so just a lot of the ritual we've lost. And I think we've lost a lot.
Yeah.
And we've lost touch with using our bodies to work through grief, and fasting and mourning and just a whole lot of things.
Yeah. Well, years ago, I was in a class ministering to grieving, and it was done by a chaplain. I thought he did a phenomenal job and just really eye-opening for me. But one of the things that I remember, well, there's so much that he said, but one of the things that I remember he was talking about is, you go through these different stages and you don't know when they happen, but you jump around a lot. But he said what was really interesting, I thought, was he said the way that our society grieves is vastly different from a lot of cultures in the world even today. He says, you think about this, like the moment that somebody dies, a phone call is made. A lot of times the people leave the room. You have somebody who come in, they will take the body, and then you don't see that body again, maybe for several more days, and maybe not even really at all. It's, if it's a closed casket type of deal, and then it's all done very sterile. The body's taken away, it's cleaned up, there's makeup, there's, everything is done. The suit is, and they're like, you're not allowing yourself to really grieve and have closure. Is kind of that's a pop culture type of a word.
Loaded.
But yeah, it's loaded. But he said there's cultures that like we think it's really weird, but like they'll have somebody who dies and they'll keep the body there for several days. And they'll do some preparations there, but you might have the body remain in the house for a week, and then
Isn't that what a wake originally was? Is you sat up with the deceased to make sure that vermin and rats and stuff. I mean, just the reality.
Yeah. And
Just
we
the
don't-
biology, the lack of sterility.
And we don't
Yeah.
live in that culture
yeah,
anymore.
and just the people coming and the wailing in the morning, and you threw yourself into that, whereas, like you said, we'll be like, oh, somebody died. Well, we're going to have a memorial service for them in 6 weeks or whatever. And
When it's
how to get
convenient
that-
for
yeah.
people to get there.
Yeah,
And
I get it. Yeah.
But I think things changed in the Acts church. Like, they were excited when somebody died for Christ. I think funerals probably did change maybe.
Yeah.
they
They
did
didn't
celebrate
hire-
when like martyrs
Yeah.
died, and that
Yeah.
did catch
That-
the attention
that-
of the Roman world.
For sure, because they were not
Yeah.
hiring the wailers. They were excited that they had died
Yeah.
for the cause of Christ, and so that maybe that started the change, and this is where we are now.
Yeah.
So, because we have more celebrations of life. I feel like there's more. I mean, there are some funerals where there's a full on sermon, like, okay, guys, this guy didn't get it right, but you better come forward
Yeah.
as we stand and sing. But then there's also those for like, y'all are sad, but we're not. We're not sad for this person because we
Yeah.
know they're with Jesus and they're not hurting anymore, or sad anymore.
Yeah.
This is a victory, celebration of life.
Yeah. So, just weird question. Have any of you guys, have y'all thought about what you want your funeral to be like? Have you thought of any songs or anything? Or am I the only weird one at the table?
No, I haven't thought of maybe songs.
I think we wrote down some songs, or I did, I think, and stuck them like with our social security cards and birth certificates. I don't know.
I don't think I did that.
you did it.
No.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I'm going to go back and look.
There's-
You've
Oh, you
got
have it in your phone.
I think I knew. I think you've showed me this before.
Well, actually, I just here we go on May 25th, and so today's the 29th, right? So it's 4 days ago. We were going somewhere, and I don't know what had sparked this conversation, but we were in the car, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to hear some songs that I wanted, and so I actually have 2, 4. I have the whole order of
You
of
have
my
the whole
service.
discography
Wow.
of Forrest Frank on there?
Oh. Dude, I may have to add a Forrest Frank song.
There's going to be hopefully a lot more songs that you like between now and then.
But I think
Yeah.
that's,
Keep that list updated.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
if you
update
think
it.
about it, those songs do stick with you. Like, I still know
Yeah.
the songs. Like, there are a couple songs that when I hear them,
Yeah.
like, that was at this person's
Yeah.
funeral, that was
Yeah.
at this person's funeral, and I'll never forget it because it meant a lot.
Yeah.
That encapsulated that person's life to me, and
Yeah.
I
They
remember
become a
Forget-
part of that
they
song.
become
Yeah.
a part of that
Yeah.
song.
I
The
remember hearing
memory.
Josh Turner's Long Black Train at a funeral.
Okay.
Yeah, that stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I made a list of all my songs, and I went ahead and made an order. Jennifer was with me. We were in the car. She told me 3 songs that she wanted, and then I emailed it to all my kids and said, hey, just like, I don't expect that you'll need this for a while, but just in case, like, here's what I want. Like,
Did they
So-
all email you back?
no, I don't think anybody.
Crickets.
Yeah,
Like, okay, Dad.
yeah. Thanks, that thumbs up.
Thanks, Dad.
So yeah, no, my dad has emailed me the order for his service, that what he wants, the songs that he wants, and everything like that. And so I wish that's another thing, and this might be for another day, but I really wish, both as a culture or at least as a church, we would embrace more the reality that we're all going to die, and prepare for it spiritually, most importantly. But there are so many people out there, bless their hearts, that they are not ready legally, they're not ready financially, they're not ready anyway. And so then they leave, and then their family is left with all these questions. And again, we give ourselves more time than we used to. But there was a time where, like, when somebody died, you had 3 days to figure this out. And unfortunately, there have been more than a few fights that have been waged because the dad didn't just sit down and say, hey, here's something I want. Here's what I want this to look like. And it's an emotional time, and things matter more than they should. And they say, oh, well, his favorite color is red because of his car, and he wouldn't have wanted the red tie. And the other sister says, no, he wanted blue because that's what he wore at my wedding. He said this was his favorite tie. And then you're just like, all of a sudden, everything has so much greater importance. Mm-hmm. And if you just say, hey, here's what I want.
Being clear is kind.
Yes. So anyway.
Wasn't there a book that you read that's really good that kind of helped lay some of those things out?
Being Mortal is a pretty excellent book on death and dying that has nothing to do with faith at all. Just kind of the realities and the medical side. And it's a really good book.
Yeah.
And you have a love list that you offer to people.
Yeah. I hope I'm not saying it wrong. I think it's Steve Sandifer. He's the one who. No. He's not the one. He's. I'm getting a little confused, but it's called My Love List. Was introduced to me while I was in that class for grieving, and it's like a 40-page document, and it has basically everything. All the questions that you'd want to ask, from legal issues to medical power of attorney to here's who I want to have my car, a place for the will, all that stuff. I've seen a little bit advertised recently. I can't remember. I think it's called the Knock Box or something like that. It's something that you can buy online.
Does that stand for something?
I have no idea.
The Knock Box.
Oh, dear.
I have no idea, but it probably does.
I hope that's what it is. It is.
Only because we've lived in a town with a packing plant do we have weird feelings about Knock Box.
There's something that's called a knock gun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It has a lot to do with quick death.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, no, I don't think it's
about that.
But it's basically you buy this.
It stands for something.
It stands for next of kin.
Next of kin. There we go.
So it's not a 22 caliber. Yeah.
I just had this terrible vision.
Wow.
A knock box.
Oh
my goodness.
Next of kin.
Next of kin. Okay.
Call it a next to kin box for all the people that grew up near a beef slaughterhouse, Doug.
Oh, my word.
Which would be Jamie and I.
I was trying to think of a 5-letter acronym. KNOCK. Knockbox. That is quite the name.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I could be wrong, but I think there's anyway.
No.
It burned down. So
I'm not making any promises, but I hope someday soon that I would love to get a group of folks together and have a little, for lack of a better word, a seminar, and bring in a doctor and say, hey, here's some things you would want to think about. A medical doctor, and say, here's some things to think about, like what do these terms mean? What does it mean? What's a DNR? Those types of things. Bring in an attorney and talk about what's a will and what's medical power of attorney, and bring in somebody from a funeral home and say, here's some questions that are going to be asked, and bring in
all of those that aren't called.
Yeah, and bring in a counselor to say, here's some of the issues you're going to have, and a minister to say, here's some of the spiritual issues that you might encounter, and just and say, okay, because it's just it's crazy. It's crazy, and unfortunately, sometimes because we as a culture we're not really good at grieving, and it makes us really uncomfortable. We love to slap Band-Aids on all that stuff, and we can say some pretty awful things, well-meaning but really awful things. And so, just kind of talk about, hey, sometimes some people who really love you are going to unintentionally say something that is going to feel like a dagger going in you, and you just have to say, yeah, you have to think about what they meant, not what they said. Yeah. So anyway, I'd like to do that sometime.
Yeah. Can I talk about our Lord for just a second?
One.
Jesus mourns in the Bible. Death of Lazarus, he weeps. When John the Baptist dies, Jesus goes off to be alone. Like, understandable. I like to do that when I need to be alone. I like to go find a mountain and go climb it and be alone. Well, because he's Jesus, the crowds follow him. And I think that Jesus chose to go do what John would have done, which was be out in the country and preach to the crowds and preach about the kingdom of God. And so during your time of grief, go and be alone. But when you're ready again, use that as a opportunity to do the good that person would have done. And that's a way to multiply the good and also to share the grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just tap into what Jesus did.
Yeah, it is healthy to go through, that valley. Just don't pitch a tent and don't build a house.
Yeah, certainly.
Lance, would you like to close us in a
Absolutely.
prayer?
Lord and God, I just thank you for being so good. We are so humble and grateful as we talk about grief to know that we follow a Savior who grieved, who shared every hurt that we've had, who's experienced death and loss. And we just want to pray that we're faithful in those times, that as we process through those things and as we go through them, we want to do it as people who have hope and people who believe and people believe in a God who's going to undo death and who's going to dry every tear. And we just thank you. It's in the name of Christ that we all pray. Amen.
Amen.